It's December 14th, 2020. We're in Cleveland, Ohio for an AFC North Monday Night showdown between the hometown Browns and the visiting Baltimore Ravens. Both of these squads have dropped a shit ton of points, but tied at 42, a clean kick here would all but secure the dub for the Ravens. To better appreciate what comes next, we must understand these teams' convoluted history, how these new leaders represent a fresh era for their respective franchises, and why an alleged bowel movement threw this game off course. To do all that, we need to rewind. Saying these teams have a tangled past is an understatement. For starters, the Ravens used to be the Browns, and the Browns, well, still are the Browns, but an updated version of Browndom. Let me explain. In late 1995, former Browns owner Art Modell announced the team was moving to Baltimore because Cleveland wouldn't fund a new stadium. Stripping the town of their franchise didn't go as well as Modell would have imagined, causing a massive lawsuit playing out over months. NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue later approved the move, but with a major condition. Cleveland could keep the Browns' name, colors, and records for a new team that would kick off in the '99 season. And to make things messy, the NFL slotted the reborn Browns in the same division as the Ravens, birthing a new rivalry. Well, more of a one-sided battle where Cleveland constantly got waxed and had to watch a team that used to be theirs win a Super Bowl shortly after leaving. While it's for sure a lopsided affair, Baltimore wasn't always this successful. They were an average squad during the mid-2000s, struggling to find a reliable QB to keep them in the mix. Then their fortune changed entering the '08 season. Their franchise gained stability by hiring head coach John Harbaugh and drafting QB Joe Flacco in the first round. Since their arrival, Baltimore has demolished Cleveland every year while adding another Super Bowl title. Cleveland had more coaches than wins against Baltimore during that span. I guess competent coaching and steady quarterback play can go a long way. But this season, Cleveland is a missed kick away from having the chance to snatch a dub in front of their home crowd. If you peep the scoreboard, specifically their records, the Browns are sitting prettier than the Ravens this year. That's no coincidence. They just might have figured out that whole coach and quarterback thing. After a disastrous 2017 season, Cleveland drafted Heisman-winning quarterback Baker Mayfield first overall. In his first season under center, Mayfield showed tons of promise, leading the Browns to 7 wins, which, if my math is right, was 7 more W's than what they got the previous year. If anything, Baker certainly caught the attention of bitter Browns fans with a game-winning overtime drive against the Ravens in Week 5 of that season. More importantly, Baker's play struck a chord with management. Heading into the 2019 season, the Browns made a series of moves indicating their future was now. The team promoted offensive coordinator Freddie Kitchens to head coach and swung a trade landing standout receiver Odell Beckham Jr. Some media members believed they would not only make the playoffs, but have a legitimate threat at competing for a Super Bowl. For the first time since being reintroduced as a franchise, the Browns had real expectations. And they shit the bed. They didn't waste any time replacing the sheets. The organization fired Kitchens and brought in new head coach Kevin Stefanski, signaling another restart of their supposed new era, which again, didn't start too well. Cleveland got smoked by Baltimore in their season opener, marking their 16th consecutive loss in Week 1. But after dropping the first game, the Browns caught fire. Behind a strong rushing attack led by Nick Chubb, Baker played off the run and found his groove slinging the ball at a high rate. He entered this matchup fresh off a 4-touchdown performance and a victory last week against the Titans. That win marked Cleveland's first winning season since '07. Seriously, the Browns showed signs of a real new era in the process and looked to keep things rolling at home against the Ravens. Baker and the boys came out swinging and could have taken an early lead at the top of the second if not for a missed field goal, but later found themselves down 14 in the third. Without reliable QB play in the past, that deficit would have been a death sentence for the Browns. Now, strapped with a signal caller who can bake up a comeback, Cleveland erased Baltimore's lead behind a broken play, with Baker scrambling for a tutty to take control midway through the fourth. The crowd was lit. You can just tell this rivalry meant more. The Ravens eventually answered back, leaving the Browns little time for dramatics, but Baker wasn't finished. He was a marksman on their ensuing drive, starting with a pass where he beautifully floated the ball over the defender's head for a 30-yard pickup. From there, he kept dotting Baltimore with throw after throw, finishing things off with a 22-yard TD to tie it up. In under a minute, Baker drove the Browns down the field, putting his squad in excellent shape to send this game to overtime. But that drive could all be for nothing. As Baltimore lines up for this kick, they can fend off Cleveland's furious comeback and leave these fans devastated with a clean boot. A field goal could be the difference, but like the Browns, the Ravens wouldn't be in this position if not for their franchise-altering QB. During the 2018 draft, 31 spots after Mayfield, Baltimore selected their own Heisman-winning quarterback Lamar Jackson with the final pick of the first round. With Flacco aging, Lamar was expected to learn under the vet, but immediately got thrust into action when Flacco went down with a hip injury in Week 9. The rest was history. While Baker took time to develop, Lamar took over the league instantly. But he still had critics. When Baltimore flamed out in the playoffs of Lamar's MVP season, journalists questioned if he was a flash in the pan. They still entered this year expected to return to the postseason, but media members again believed that was all dependent on L-Jack's play. He regressed. After starting the season hot, Baltimore came crashing down in a mid-season slump behind subpar games from Jackson where the team slipped from the playoff picture. It didn't help that the Ravens experienced a massive COVID outbreak with multiple players missing games, including Lamar. Jackson returned to action last week and got busy in a victory over Dallas that Baltimore hoped to be their first big step in a run to the playoffs. Tonight against the Browns was a must-win for the Ravens to keep their hopes alive, and Lamar looked in MVP form early. He made Cleveland defenders look silly as he gashed their defense repeatedly, breaking off large runs as he went into halftime with 2 touchdowns on the ground. The dude was a terror in the open field and entered the final quarter with just 11 pass attempts. But as the fourth quarter began, Lamar had to watch his team from the locker room. After Cleveland cut the game to 6 at the top of the fourth, Baltimore oddly sent out QB Trace McSorley to protect their lead. There was no indication Lamar was hurt until ESPN's production cut to a video of him waddling back to the locker room, reportedly to get treated for cramps. Look, I'm far from a top-class athlete and certainly not a doctor, but the cramps I've experienced in the past have rendered me motionless. Maybe Lamar's just built different, but that walk looked a little suspicious. He even cleanly juked out a Ravens staff member to make it to the door. Fans watching the broadcast speculated Lamar had ulterior motives. They thought he had to take a shit. Tons of tweets piled in with users alleging that Lamar had to drop a different set of Browns off. While he was getting treated for cramps or, doing his own thing, McSorley stunk up his first drive, going 3 and out, opening the door for Cleveland to take the lead. On Baltimore's ensuing possession, Lamar was still nowhere to be found, but the Ravens managed to work the ball downfield, mostly keeping things on the ground. However, during a crucial 3rd and short on Cleveland's 41-yard line, the Ravens looked toast. On a read option play, McSorley held onto the ball and looked to pick up the first down himself until he made a cut and immediately fell to the ground in pain. As McSorley hit the turf, the Ravens found themselves in a shitty situation. With Lamar in the locker room and McSorley down, Baltimore didn't have a reliable option to turn to. McSorley was 3rd on the depth chart and only played today because second-string backup Robert Griffin suffered a hamstring injury a few weeks ago. Things looked bleak, but like a phoenix rising from the toilet, allegedly, Jackson made his way back to the field. Stuck at Cleveland's 44-yard line, Baltimore decided to go for it on 4th down. With Lamar lined up in the shotgun, he rolled to the right in what appeared to be another setup for one of his crushing runs, but pulled back and unloaded a pass to a wide-open Hollywood Brown, who strolled into the end zone to take the lead. Whether he was feeling better after getting treated for cramps or being relieved after a bathroom break, Lamar certainly looked loose and broke down the Browns' defense with a threat of his legs. After the TD, the Ravens punched in a 2-point conversion, extending their lead to 7, which didn't last long thanks to Baker. Tied at 42 with a touch over a minute to play and 1 timeout, Baltimore had a ton of ground to gain to have a shot at winning. Lamar has ravaged Cleveland's D with his legs and very few passes, but now more than ever, he's gotta let it fly. Which is exactly what he did. After hitting on 4 straight passes, the Ravens worked their way into Browns territory, bringing us here. A 55-yarder is by no means a gimme, but if you're the Browns, this is probably the last person you want to see lining up for this kick. In his 9th season, Ravens kicker Justin Tucker has already made a strong case to be one of, if not the, greatest kicker in NFL history. Over his career, Tucker has broken the spirit of numerous franchises with game-winning kicks, and being a division opponent with the Browns, Cleveland is one of his top victims. In 2014, Tucker nailed a 32-yarder in Cleveland as time expired, eking out a win for his team. In 2018, he had a perfect day against the Browns, drilling all his field goals and extra points, lifting Baltimore in a narrow 26-24 victory. Outside of Lamar, Tucker was the team's top offensive talent. He was that reliable, and it helps that he has an absolute boot. Tucker had an extra point blocked in this game tonight and is yet to attempt a field goal, but he's built for these moments. If he knocks in this kick, the Ravens will escape with a win on the road, adding another W of the team they've constantly bullied. If he misses, Baker and the Browns will have a chance to strike in overtime and prove this truly is the beginning of a new era with a crucial win over a hated rival. But the Ravens are here because of Lamar Jackson. We'll have to wait till after the game to hear what really went down in that locker room, but whether Lamar got work done or put in work on the toilet, he swooped in to save his team when they needed him the most. It can all come down to this kick. Welcome to a moment in history.
For the win. And Justin Tucker has done it for Baltimore. There are 2 seconds left on the clock.
Okay, there's still a couple seconds left on the clock. While a Hail Mary from the 25-yard line is highly unlikely, there has been crazier things that happened in the past. Plus, they entered this game as a 3-point underdog, so they at least covered and got that win to make bettors around the world happy, right?
Makes the biggest play maybe of the game.
All right, let's see, we get a few hook and laterals there. Hunt got it first on the completion. Baker winds up with the football back in his hand.
What's the worst that can happen?
This is Higgins.
Safety. After all that.
And that's how it should end. A 3-point victory, a 5-point victory.
Yo, thanks for watching this episode of Rewinder. Just want to take the time to give a special shout out to our top secret agents. Those are the $10 patrons whose names are beautifully displayed on screen right now. You too can get your name up on this screen if you become a $10 patron, which gets you exclusive access to early releases, new episodes of John's series, our new podcast, The Annex, Yorktown columns, mailbags, and more. We also have a $5 option that comes with some sweet stuff as well. And we'll always still be pumping out fire content right here on YouTube.